of the places and people I know. Till the day I return to my homeland, you'll hear me singing wherever I go. And I'll sing me manire, epi to the waka, poki my pokare-kare-ana. And I'll sing haere-ra e-hine, waikare-moana. That's home sweet home to me. Yeah. Uncle Andy.
Sorry.
Oh, look, you made a Memphis now.
Silver streams and quiet forests that stand proud and tall. And remember that home folk feeling, the friendliest people of all. And the green grass, the lakes and the mountains.
Hello, everybody.
They seem to be calling out loud to come home to the land I was born in, to the land of the long white cloud.
Okay, let's go, everyone.
And I'll sing, hey, to the waka, poki my pokare-kare-ana. And I'll sing haere-ra e-hine, waikare-moana. That's home sweet home to me. And I'll sing hey, manere, epi to the waka, poki my pokare-kare-ana. And I'll sing haere-ra e-hine, waikare-moana. That's home sweet home to me. Yes, that's home sweet home to me.
Oh, kia ora. Couldn't help myself, had to have a sing-along with that waiata. It was a beautiful waiata. It's one of my favourites, and yeah, I've got to be careful which waiata I share, otherwise I get blocked. So I think the Koi boys might have been pushing the boundaries. I've never been blocked with them before, but I did get semi-blocked, I think, with them yesterday. Tell me if you can see the Koi boys waiata if you click into yesterday's live, but I got a message saying that it had been partially blocked because of copyrights. So I do have to be really, really careful. And, you know, gosh, these old garage parties with all our nanas and our koros and our aunties and our uncles and our cousins used to be, it just takes me back. It takes me back to those that have already passed on, and you know, it just brings a little tear to your eye, really, reminiscing. And waiata does that for me. It takes me back and it hits me right here. That's why I love playing. But I do have to be careful on which waiata I play, just in case there are copyrights on it. So thank you all for tuning in. And, this is a continuation of what's been happening. I wanted to play Who Done It? Who Stole My Baby? Who Done It? But I think the name of the band back in the day was Taveras group. But I knew I would have had copyrights on that, and so I was hoping I could find a garage party version of that, and I couldn't find it on YouTube or Aotearoa has Got Talent and Most Talented, those types of YouTube programs. So I couldn't find it anywhere because I really wanted to connect that waiata up to the WHO, right? Eki. And yesterday I did share the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta meeting with the Director General of the WHO in February this year to form partnerships moving forward. So red flag. Anyway, I'll try and find that, but I'm going to play. So we listened to Neil Oliver yesterday, which was a great spiel on what's been happening in the WHO, and everybody's saying, did you vote for the WHO? No. And I talked about globalism, one world order, whatever you want to call it. It's centralization of power and decision making with private entities, unelected officials, funded by Bill Gates of all people. Anyway, gosh, a few years ago, I would have thought this was in the Twilight Zone stuff, and I would have given someone the slide eye a few years ago if they started talking about this stuff. But I tell you, whānau, it is tika and it is puno, and if we don't do something about it, we might as well not have any more tamariki or any more mokopuna, because their future is kaka. That's all I'm saying. So kia ora Ramari, kia ora Brooke, kia ora Catherine, or kia ora Eunice from the land of our moimoia. Thank you all for tuning in. Julie, Glennis, kia ora Matua Pohara. Thank you for tuning in. Awesome to have you. And my lives are random. A lot of people tell me that we don't get notification. I have to, and I should remind you every single day that you need to go on and you need to follow and you need to re-like or unlike, re-like, so that it attaches you to my lives. Because we know that censorship is real as well. And hey, they never kick a dead kuri. So it must mean I'm doing something right, whānau. Anyway, awesome to have you all on board. I'm going to mute myself, and then I'm going to share one of my favourite commentators. So watch the space. Stay tuned.
You know what the last couple of years has taught me? Let's give more power to the WHO and unelected bodies. Oh, that is happening. Great. Hey, you 5.6 million awakening wonders. Together we voyage forward, do we? Yes, of course we do. Not for long, though, because the WHO are going to be sticking their oar in. They're drafting new plans for pandemic preparedness, meaning that your government will lose the ability to construct their own regulation, accepting instead the WHO's edicts, like a chewed up bit of food from a mummy bird into a baby bird's mouth. if you want an image. If you don't subscribe yet, subscribe right now. Also, turn on the notification bell. And at the end, I'm going to tell you how to sign up to my mailing list community, because I do big stuff and I've got big announcements. And I want you to, to know about it, because I need you. I need you, don't I? Of course I do. Also, if you see any little bots in the comments going, hey, sign up to my cryptocurrency thing, I'm Russell Brand. I'm not doing that. That's not me. Don't sign up to nothing. The only thing I'm asking you to do is sign up to my mailing list, right? And you know what that'll be. Don't you? Okay, let's see what's in the news. In a landmark decision at the World Health Assembly special session last week, world leaders agreed to commence negotiations on an international framework, treaty, or accord for pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response, ushering in new opportunities to shape the future of global health security. Firstly, I don't like hearing about any conferences where leaders are coming together, because I think I don't trust any of you lot. I've not trusted any of you lot for ages. I mean, you're all hanging about in a conference, shaking hands, backslapping, jollying each other along, ushering in new opportunities to shape the future of global health security. We're just shaping the future. That's controlling the future. What shape is it? It's sort of the shape of a boot on your face forever. The international community agreed at a special session of the World Health Assembly. Well, not like that. It's too much like that Budweiser thing. What's up? I'll tell you what's up. Your democracy's fucking finished. On the need to draft a convention under the Constitution of World Health Organization. So what that's saying is the WHO will be in charge. I don't remember voting for the WHO. It's interesting, isn't it? Who did you vote for? Doesn't matter. They'll be doing what the WHO tell them. The decision was made by the WHO's 194 member states, and what senior WHO officials said was an inflection point in international public health. The agreement is a cause for celebration and a cause for hope, which we will need, said WHO's Director General, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. Let it be said, decades from now, when each of us is nothing more than photographs and memories. You're going to turn into photographs and memories. Oh, no, they've already been taken. We'll just be dead. Unless some of our plans for eternal life work out. How are they coming along, Bill? Fucking good. That we left the world in a healthier, safer, fairer place than we found it. Bloody hell, mate. I don't think so. I think what people say is we lapsed into a terrible, technocratic, globalist agenda where ordinary people had no ability to influence democratic outcomes, where the media cooperated in keeping people distracted, numb and dumb, while the powerful funded non-democratic organizations to carry out their edicts. Whether that's for good or for bad, that's for us all to collectively decide, but it certainly isn't democratic, and it's certainly not a fairer, better world. We don't have rules of the game, Tedros says of the current situation. To manage shared problems like pandemics, you need laws and rules that bring obligations to countries. That's what we miss. And I hope countries will agree to a binding pact so that pandemics can be managed better. Nostalgic fools that we are, we always assume that the future will somehow easily resemble the past, that fascism will be Larry badges, red and black flags, and insignia of eagles. But instead, what it is cozy bureaucratic language. We're just going to shape your future. We're just going to need countries in a binding pact. Do you know what the word fascist literally means and comes from? It means bound together, tight pacts. It comes from bundles of sticks. Look it up. So fascism in the future, we now know what it will look like. Technocratic, cozy, you will own nothing, you will be happy. We're just helping you. We're doing this to help you. Cozy, colloquial. Just step this way, sir. Just be quiet. Just go in your homes for the benefit of everyone. I'm afraid that was a misinformation, a disinformation. Look at how it's going. If you open your eyes wide and stay alert, you can see the shapes emerging. You can see that what they mean by shape is control. And the way that control will be achieved is through cozy language and non-democratic decisions enacted at a global level, usurping the potential power of democratic nations, which have all become banal and uniform anyway. Look at your own democracy. Member states have agreed to a timeline which could lead to a legally binding treaty. That means there's laws. The more power is moved away from local, individual, community, national to global, the less power you will have, the less power I will have. We see an increase in censorship, regulation against protest, control of communication. You see what new tyranny looks like. As well as a consensus between nearly 200 nations, any agreement will require financing. Yeah, they're going to want you to pay for this stuff. They're going to want you to pay to tyrannize yourself. That'll be $50, sir. And to be effective in practice, it will need a strong international legal framework that rewards good public health behaviour and disincentivizes bad behaviour with sanctions. I see what they're doing. They're inventing a metric by which to control us. And because of the type of times we live in, if it's like measurable, well, that's bad for health. You're a good citizen if you obey lockdown and you follow the procedures we suggest to you. You're a bad citizen. Good and bad behavior could be regarded as subjective. I mean, I trust you, and I believe that you and I roughly see kindness, tolerance, open-heartedness, willingness to serve others. You know, I reckon there are some values that feel universal. But when the ideas of good behavior and bad behavior are dictated by a globalist entity that was never elected and is funded by a set of individuals that have a clear agenda, the good and bad behavior that they devise will obviously be in alignment with those principles and their preferred outcomes. And doesn't that good and bad behavior league table thing that they're trying to establish sound a little bit like social credit score? And didn't they say they would never do that, and that the technology of vaccine passports would never be used as a platform for further instruments of control? And now that you see that powerful individuals in public are going out and not worrying too much about whether or not they get COVID, we've got a video on that. Doesn't it seem that there could be an additional, separate, another agenda for the reason that all these controls are being introduced? I'm not saying it's definitely true. I'm posing the question to you. Hit me up in the comments below. Concurrently, Bill Gates has called for a global surveillance germ team to spot future pandemic threats and potentially enact lockdowns. I think at that point, it ceases to be a coincidence and starts to become a plan for global dominance. Coincidentally, we've come up with this plan and they've come up with this plan. And who funds them? I do. It's come out the same week. Bill Gates with his little book about here in case there's another pandemic, here's what to do. WHO, governments just do this. Bill's got a book out. At least give it a couple of weeks. Like if you've just used a toilet, I'd give it 15 minutes if I was you. We're just doing a conspiracy in there. Over the past decades, the world's richest man has become the World Health Organization's second biggest donor, second only to the United States and just above the United Kingdom. The result, say his critics, is that Gates' priorities have become the WHO's. Rather than focusing on strengthening healthcare in poor countries that would help, in their view, to contain future outbreaks like the Ebola epidemic, the agency spends a disproportionate amount of its resources on projects with the measurable outcomes Gates prefers. Also, we remember that during the COVID-19 pandemic, they would rescind patents so that African nations could manufacture vaccines, which they said were the solution to the problem. So as well as just solving the problem, there seems like there could be a monetizable or at least a control component that is at odds with the let's get this vaccine to as many people as possible. So it seems like there are some conflicting objectives, and that Bill Gates has got an incredible amount of influence over the WHO. And what we're suggesting here, or what's being suggested here, is that WHO have the ability to legally bind nations beyond democratic influence. That means your influence. If you think Bill Gates is one of the most influential people in the world with regard to health policy right now, imagine his influence and power if this goes through. In 2021, the world's leading health organization, the WHO, repeatedly broke its own rules and spent millions of dollars on high-priced management consultants, according to a new independent audit, even as the United Nations agency has struggled to pay for equipment and vaccines in its global COVID-19 response. The agency paid the consultants a total of $11.7 million, enough to buy 600,000 COVID-19 vaccines. Have you got any money, buddy? I'm down to my last consultant. We've employed quite a lot of consultants. It turns out that what it says here, we're wasting money. What on? Consultants. Revelations of the Gates Foundation's financial stake in COVID-19, which Bill Gates does not appear to have publicly disclosed in dozens of recent media appearances, speak to broader criticisms about the lack of transparency in the foundation's increasingly central role in the pandemic. And this is an NHS doctor. The NHS is the publicly funded British healthcare system. The WHO is currently preparing an international agreement on pandemic prevention, preparedness and response. We believe the public must be furnished with the full ramifications of what and how any pandemic treaty could affect them. Seems fine. And be given a public vote on whether the UK should sign up before the UK government signs up to this. Sounds perfectly reasonable so far, unless you don't want people to know, unless you don't want people to vote, unless you don't like democracy. Do not sign any WHO pandemic treaty unless it's approved via public referendum. We want the government to commit to not signing any international treaty on pandemic prevention and preparedness. Establish the link in the description to that petition for UK citizens or people living in the UK. And if you have any petitions in your own countries, tell us and we'll post them on social media for you, because we believe on this channel, and we call it Stay Free Media here, that we are truly in this together. We believe that we should truly build back better, that we should decentralize power any possible, that you should be in charge of your own life. You should be in charge of your own community. You are intelligent enough to make decisions about your own health, your own body, your own community, your own education, everything. You should be running it yourself. You're flawed, you're fallible, but the people leading, they're perfect. Oh yeah, Joe Biden, you can see that guy, he's fine. Boris Johnson, yeah, no problem with him. Macron, great guy. Nothing to worry about there. So as long as we know they're not perfect, we don't have to be perfect either. So yeah, what I believe in is democracy, your ability to decide what happens in your own life. I don't know, is that controversial? Let me know in the comments below. Please sign up to my mailing list. I've got a one-day event with Wim Hof, which will be sure to awaken you and improve your health. We've also got some big announcements that I definitely want you to be a part of. So sign up to that mailing list. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these ones. Sign that petition if you're a UK resident. Send us petitions in the comments below if your country has one already, because this is going to be global, so it is coming to your country. More important than any of that, but also somewhat connected to it, stay free.
Kia ora anō. That was brilliant, but I'm having connectivity problems again, and I'm directly connected to our box that sits on the wall. So things are slowing down again. Could be censorship, could be technology, or could be both. But anyway, I hope you can hear me. Hope that was clear. I could just see that there was some technical issues when I was listening and watching Russell Brand's commentary. Don't you love him? I just think, he should have more than 5 million people subscribing to his channel, because gosh, if there's anyone that we need to lead us out of this bloody hole that this government and other world governments have dug for us, is certainly this guy that we want at the helm. And he's got a massive team around him. They do their research. It's hard to dispute their research, because what I tend to do is I go in and I do a bit of research myself to research the research. And I'm pretty confident when I put him up. Neil Oliver is another one that I enjoy following. But what I'm trying to find, whānau, I'm trying to show you what's happening in our country, to always bring it back to us, because what's happening out there in the wider world there, in Te Ao, you can guarantee something's going to be happening here. So I found it. So I see if I can just share this with you, whānau, just so we can bring it back to us. And after we've had a listen to Russell Brand. So I'm going to share. I'll mute. Oh no, I'll just share because it's not a video, and I'll read it out what it says. So, as we can see, this is the World Health Organization, New Zealand and WHO partnering for a healthier future. And this is the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta, and I'll read the article. New Zealand and WHO partnering for a healthy future, 28th of February 2022. So it's only just a few months ago. Geneva, 25th of February 2022, on the occasion of the Human Rights Council, Minister of Foreign Affairs of New Zealand, Honourable Nanaia Mahuta, met for the first time with Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, sorry, pronunciation, aroha mai, WHO Director General. The objective of the meeting, which took place at the WHO headquarters, was to discuss New Zealand's continued strategic, technical, and financial support to the organisation. It is an honour to welcome the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta to WHO and to express my deep gratitude to New Zealand for its leadership in public health and invaluable support to WHO, including the Pandemic Treaty. So listen to that, I'll read it again, including the Pandemic Treaty and increased and assessed contributions, said Dr. Tedros. Not only has New Zealand helped to achieve great strides in the Pacific region, but also during the global COVID-19 pandemic. As one of the first COVAX funders and first dose donors, New Zealand may be a small country, but it is big in heart and an important player in the global health arena. Did you hear that, whānau? As one of the founding members of WHO, New Zealand has been a long-standing and highly valued partner. During today's meeting, the Honourable Minister and Dr. Tedros discussed collaboration in the Pacific region, including the COVID-19 response, with both reaffirming their commitment to partner for a healthier future. WHO is grateful for New Zealand's technical, financial, and human resources support in a number of key areas, including the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases and emergency response. During the COVID-19 pandemic, New Zealand has had active engagement in the Pacific Joint Incident Management Team. So I'll read that again, whānau. Hang on, I'll just bring myself up beside it as well. New Zealand has had an active engagement in the Pacific Joint Incident Management Team. Pacific Joint Incident Management Team. Since the very beginning of the response, including embedding several staff within the WHO Pacific Sub-Regional Office and supporting critical coordination work. New Zealand is also a key contributor to WHO's contingency fund for emergencies, which provides WHO with the resources to respond rapidly to disease outbreaks and other health emergencies, saving lives and helping prevent unnecessary suffering. So, you know, that's what Russell Brand was talking about, right? He was talking about soft languages, and you know, it's called dog whistling, but soft languages. They're using language to fool us. They're using language to entrap us, right? And it goes to show that our government is actively participating in the Pandemic Treaty. So we'll go back to what's been happening and what Russell Brand said. He said that the World Health Assembly special session, or what's up, bro? WHASS, what's up, bro? Oh gosh, if you don't laugh, you want to cry and throw things at your computer. So you got to hold on to your huma whānau, hold on to your mana, and hold on to your sovereignty, because, you know, even from an Indigenous perspective, if we all lose our sovereignty, there ain't no Indigenous sovereignty anywhere either. There certainly is not no mana motuhake for Indigenous people and no mana motuhake for the rest of us. So if this is the time, I think, when Indigenous people and the rest of the whānau, the rest of the community bloody bind together. So that's where the word rangatira comes, ranga, to bind everyone together. Then this is it, folks. This is the time when we actually become one whānau, because the devil is in the detail. The devil is in the legislation that they want to pass, where they want to give all our sovereignty to an unelected bunch of mofos. Who the hell is this Dr. Tedros? I actually was last year, I think someone sent me, gosh, and it's amongst all the many things that I've been sent, and his human rights track record was shocking prior to him becoming Director General of the WHO, and then who he tried to bring on, and then there was a bit of a backlash. Now there's going to be a global backlash, because no way are we going to be servants to the WHO. And again, just like that digital identity, just like, you know, cashless society, bringing us into social credit. And as everyone stated, this was not a stepping stone or gateway to total control or totalitarianism, but actually it is, because that's what we're seeing. They're wrapping all of this up, and they're going to make it binding on countries. We saw the TPPA, and we saw what happened there, and that, you know, a lot of people were asleep then. I mean, I was pretty awake then, and my 7-year-old and 9-year-old moko at that time, that's how old they were. They were more awake than some adults, you know, 70 times their age. They had on them, no way, TPPA. But anyway, that's another story. But hey, you know, that was for them. And I like to take them on to my protests, because they remind me and you that we're doing it for them, right? So it's bloody important, whānau, and I try hard not to swear, but you can't help yourself. There's another thing I wanted to share as well in regards to what's happening in this space, and that's how much money we are contributing to the WHO. And so what they do, and this is how these global elites work, they get all their member countries to use our money, they're using our money, and they must be laughing. They must sit around the table with their expensive champagne and the expensive caviar and laugh at us, you know, brought off our taxpayers' money, and laugh at us for giving them our taxpayers' money to God, I can't even say it because it sounds so freaking ridiculous. To enslave us, people. And they sit around and they go, oh, the fools, the idiots. Do they not know what they're doing? Do they not know that actually the agenda, and here we have a ariki for Māori, because the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta also comes from ariki lines, right? And a member of Parliament. She's been there for, in 2020, what are we, 2022, 24, nearly 26 years. And she knows what it's like. She knows how it feels to be oppressed. Her people, maybe not her personally, I mean, she's quite privileged, right? But her people have been oppressed, for goodness sake. It blows my mind. You can't dispute what I've been sharing over the last couple of days. And where is our media? They want to attack the mis and disinformation. This ain't mis and disinformation. So you notice over the last 2 days, They brought this report out. We had Dr. Hututawa, right, come out over the last few days. It's like whānau. That was a distraction, because that's what the media is there to do, is to distract us whilst they pass these totalitarian fascist processes through. And where is the media if they're so concerned about disinformation, misinformation, and the lack of trust in the media? Where the hell are they? Am I it? Am I it? That's bloody scary if I'm it. Shit. That is scary if I am trying to get this information out and they're not. And I saw on the news, everybody they interviewed said, no, we don't trust the media. No, we don't trust the media. No, we don't trust the media. Well, this is why we don't trust the media. So anyway, I'm going to share something before I explode and start swearing. I'm just going to share another screen, whānau. Okay, so it's got contributors. So right here, this is what New Zealand contributes. See up there, WHO, World Health Organization, funding by contributor. So this here says that 26.79% are assessed contributions based on your GDP. So that's how they assess. So how many members are there? 194 member states. And they assess their contribution by the size of their pocket, basically. Right. And this part here is voluntary contribution. This is from New Zealand. This is from our country, from our government. 73.21% of it is voluntary. So this is the 100% of our funding, 26.79% is assessed by our GDP. The other 73.21 is our koha to the WHO, right? And it's in the millions. It's in the millions. So it was important that I showed you this financial flow. And here's how are we financed? New Zealand 100%. Where does the financing go to? WP, Western Pacific. So it's a breakdown of where our funding goes to. But I thought it was important that I showed you that nearly 75% of our funding to the WHO is a koha. 23 or nearly 24% is assessed on our GDP. And that's how we fund. That's how the member states fund these United Nations and WHOs. Now, are they serving us or are they serving themselves? If Bill Gates is the biggest private funder of the WHO, they are serving themselves. This is a master-servant relationship, and the member states are going to become the servants. If they make this legally binding, we are going to become servants to the WHO. That is globalism, whānau. That is the elite taking control of sovereign states. Where the hell was that ever discussed in the last two campaigns that I'd done here in the Waikato? Where the hell was that publicly discussed? Nowhere. Just like the digital identity. So you can see how they're moving. So this government, the sixth Labour government under Jacinda Ardern, who is an alumni of the WEF, I mean, to me, that's treasonable. What all of this that is happening is treasonable. They are usurping our sovereign rights. They are usurping our mana, motu, hake, our tino rangatiratanga. Māori have been fighting for this for nearly 200 years. This is intergenerational stuff that have been passed down from our tupuna. So we're quite prepared for this take. We're quite prepared for this take. Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab's are dangerous to sovereign states. They are globalists. They are elitists. And their puppets are Dr. Fauci and the rest of them. And the other politicians, the other alumni from the WEF. Now, this pandemic, we wouldn't have known none of this. And a few years ago, I'm sure the majority of us would have thought that those that were awake way back then, we would have thought they were batshit crazy. Well, guess what? They're not so batshit crazy after all. How do I know? Because I've done my research. Am I an expert? No, but I use my critical thinking. God gave me a brain, and a very suspicious one at that. Is it confirmation bias? Well, hey, I try and be broad. I try and broaden my outreach, and it keeps on coming back to corruption. I have a sensitive radar for corruption. So we now know that the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta, and is she honourable in what she's doing now? That's questionable. And I can't wait. I can't wait for the general elections. I'm telling you that right now. And what's the bet? They're going to try and keep all the little parties out of the program. The media is going to do that. I saw that when they were announcing that Winston Peters was not running for Tauranga. They mentioned ACT, they mentioned National, and they mentioned Labour, and also the Māori Party. But they didn't mention any of the other smaller parties. So this coalition, if there isn't an important time for a coalition, or the most important time ever for a coalition is right now, to get us across the line. We have to put all our egos behind us. We have to come together. And there's been a lot of kōrero in the background, whānau, I'm telling you. Lots and lots of kōrero in the background. And we have more in common than we don't. There are philosophical differences and issues, especially from an Indigenous perspective. There are philosophical challenges. But if we allow this to continue, then all our differences are not going to matter. All our philosophical differences are not going to matter because we're screwed. That's what the whole freaking lot of us, even those politicians and their whānau, the media and their whānau, they're all screwed. Unless they're getting paid in the back pocket and going to go to an island somewhere and all live happily ever after. Thank you all for all your comments. And yeah, it is really important. Hey, I'm going to put a request out there. I need to set up meetings, and I'm doing that at the moment for Sue Gray in the Tauranga Moana space, and we're connecting her to some of our networks. Please, if you're Māori, Pacifica, or a minority group, can you please My mobile is 027 602 5011. Text me if you can't get a hold of me. It's easier to text and then I can respond back and say, fire, we might be able to organise a meeting for Sue. It's so important, whānau. Sue's getting around the whole community, but she has to get around to those more vulnerable, isolated communities. So please, whānau, if you've got whānau in Tauranga, make connections with them and help me and Sue to get her around as many people as possible. It is important that we fight really hard for Tauranga Moana by-election. You know, if they vote National or Labour and they're going to get the same, you can't expect change if you're going to keep on doing the same thing, right? So please, whānau, if you have whānau in Tauranga, even if they're not a minority group and you want to just get Sue into, so she's happy to come and have a cup of tea. Like, that's what I do. Cup of tea with Auntie D is what I call it in my space, right? And I go out to homes. I go into homes and I have a cup of tea and talk to them, or I meet them at cafes. Sue's willing to do any of that. Her calendar is starting to fill up, so we really need to get her to as many people, get her in front as many people as possible. Also, if you're available for pamphlet drops as well, please let me know so I can put you on to the right people for pamphlet drops and door knocking. We have to organise, whānau, because guess what? The establishment parties, who forget we're part of an MMP electoral system, believe that the smaller parties cannot get themselves organised. Let's prove them wrong, because they don't want us to get organised, and we are getting organised. This is a movement. This is a movement for our future. I mean, I look at it chokes me up. It chokes me up. Not that they're stealing my rights. I mean, I'm a bit pissed off about that. But the fact is they're stealing our babies' rights. That's what makes me angry, but that's what fuels me to fight. And I'm a fighter, and I will fight for you. I just need your help. I just need your help in the Tauranga Moana space. Okay, whānau, so please, 027 602 5011. If you help me to organise meetings for Sue, I would like to prioritise the more vulnerable minority communities. But hey, if you think you can get a good crowd for her to have a cup of tea with, well, so be it. Do that as well. Just let's do this together, whānau? Okay, I think that's me for now. Oh, the last thing, I don't know if any of you watched Chantal Baker's live yesterday. Actually brought tears to my eyes. It really did. And you could see she was emotionally upset because her father, her brother, and she lived next door to the CCTV building. And they went in and they actually were trying to save lives, and they had whānau in that building. And when and remember, he's only a baby out of his PhD, Hatutawa made those, send that report out. And if you go and you look at him on Twitter and Instagram and all of that, he's a radical. He's a radical. And you can tell by his ahua, he's a radical. So, and he's paid by the government to put this misinformation and disinformation out so that the public thinks we're all batshit crazy. Here's the thing. You cannot trust a researcher if he didn't bring the government into it, right? Because what did, what was his name, Ryan? What did Ryan say right at the end? Oh, well, the Prime Minister is sharing disinformation as well, because she said that those sites were imported from overseas, and actually they're domestic sites. That's the dozen domestic sites. So why wasn't the government captured to make it, you're going to do research, You've got to be objective. It cannot be biased. And talk about discrimination bias, and that's the video that I played yesterday in my life. Discrimination bias means that you look for information to support your position. Well, that's exactly what they did. And they left out all the disinformation that the government publicly lied about, lied to us about, and continue to lie to us about. And now you hear the term long COVID. Well, that's a dog whistle for vaccine injured. Here's the thing. I rang up the Hamilton City Council because me and my darling, the Hamilton Pool's our thing, right? It's our thing. And when you had to be mandated to go into any of the councils onto their property owned by council, you had to be jabbed, right? Well, guess what? Since Sunday, they've closed the pools down because all the staff have gone down sick because of COVID. I rang up council today and I said, why is our pools closed? And they said, because we do not have staff. And I said, why do you not have staff? And they said, because they're all away sick with COVID. And I said, hang on a minute. What about the government's safe and effective and the mandates? Because I know all your staff were mandated to get the vaccine. Why are they all sick? And she said, because they are. And I said, I get that, but they shouldn't be. You shouldn't be closing down the Hamilton pools when they were all mandated to get the jab and now they're all at home sick. I said, are they sick because they all got the booster at the same time? Fair enough question. This long COVID is a dog whistle for vaccine injured. You watch on the news, all the comments on there, that's vaccine. One fella come on and said, I was getting headaches and, shortness of breath and blah, 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 blah. That's vaccine injured. The truth is going to come out and eventually we're all going to wake up. I just hope it's not too fucking late. Sorry, I just knew I couldn't hold it back. Sorry, my darling. I'll have to find another word. Another. Fudgies. But hello. Hey, anyway, so we're upset because our pools are closed. We couldn't attend because we didn't we refused to get the vaccines, and now they're all bloody sick. And I said they should have been protected. Oh, it's pretty bloody sad if you ask me. Oh, it just, you just watch all the media narrative, you watch the news, and it's the same old. Now they're talking long COVID. It's not long COVID, it's vaccine injured. They've just turned the word around. What does Coco say? Coco says, sounds like our public facilities will be shut on booster days at the taxpayers' expense. Pathetic. Oh, absolutely. I'll just put up a few comments. Go for it, Donna. Call out the bullshit. Thank you. I think I'm the only one doing this, eh? Keep up the F-bomb. It keeps you authentic. No, my husband said, look, you got Komato that watch your lives. And he knows because they come up to me and say, oh, we love you, watch your lives. He said, consider them. I said, sometimes I can't help it when I swear. It's just my emotions. Build up, and then boom. Out it comes. What does Sharon say? I love it when you swear. My husband doesn't. He always gives me that slide eye. I feel your frustration. Thank you. Anyway, I do really appreciate you all tuning in. And it's really important because I know I'm watched. They watch you, and they analyze the comments. So you're being watched as much as I'm being watched. That's all that censorship bullshit. But we need to get get this coalition together, and we need to march on down to Parliament, whānau, and I feel it. It's going to happen. There's such a movement happening. Like, when it was the convoy down to Wellington, and you saw thousands and thousands and thousands, people's live streaming, and how they said that we were the minority. I've never seen any political party or any other issue bring out, maybe except for 1981, we were part of that too, the Springbok tour, and we were part of that. So that was pretty huge as well. And to me, and I've been on a number of Māori occupations, and heaps of different protests. So I was born to protest. I think I was born to advocate. And watching that convoy literally brought you to tears, because ordinary whānau was standing up against the tyranny. So again, I just want to go back to what Russell Brand was talking about. He talks about the technocratics. There's 194 member states with the WHO, and I showed you how much we're paying, and 75%. So they have allocated assessments based on your GDP, and so that's nearly 24%, and the rest, nearly 76%, is koha that our government gives. And then I showed you, and I don't know if it's honourable that she's trying to usurp our mana motu hake and our tino rangatiratanga, which is our sovereignty, right? And our ability to live the way that we want to live in a democratic society. So it's certainly turning into tyranny in a way we could never imagine. Is certainly turning into fascism in a way we could never imagine, that our tupuna went to war to fight against, and they use soft language, but all the time they want to this is a power grab, absolute power grab, and they want to make it binding. And the fact that they use our taxpayers' money around the world to pay themselves, to fund them. They use our research, not their research, our research. So all the research, so it's about sharing data, sharing research, and sharing money. That's ours. Those are all the taxpayers that live in a so-called democracy around the world. That's all their money, our money, their research, our research, their data, our data, that they want to capture. And then they laugh all the way to the bank and make jokes about us. Then they go and have these parties. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I just... that's an important call. It's Papa Pimp. So I'll ring him back shortly. I'll just let him know I'm doing a live. I will call shortly. Okay, sorry about that, whānau. So we're being dictated to by a globalist, unelected entity, and their preferred outcomes is not good for us. So when they start taking, like I've always said, so you look at local communities, once they start taking power away and centralizing policies and centralizing dictating from Wellington, basically, that's a red flag, whānau. We always want to look at decentralization. Decentralization says that the community knows how to take care of themselves. Māori always said, we know how to take care of ourselves, you don't. Well, no different for communities. Communities know how to take care of themselves. They don't. So decentralization is the key nationally and internationally. And so globally, I mean, we all the doctors, all the lawyers, all the academics in the freedom space, all the politicians in the freedom space, we've all linked up internationally. This is not just happening here in Aotearoa, this is happening globally. And we need ordinary citizens within our own country and ordinary citizens around the globe to link up. And then we need to support these political movements to move into Parliament and watch this space. And this is serious. We are fighting for the lives of our tamariki and our mokopuna. Okay, whānau. And so what Russell Brand also spoke about was Bill Gates and his GERM team. I mean, for F's sake, his GERM team. Oh, my Lord. He must look at us all like the countries like computers. I don't know how he perceives the world. But it's we know, all we have to know, it's not good for us. Here's the other thing. So Dr. Hatotawa, remember, he got his PhD from the University of Otago. I'm going to say this. I'm going to name and shame that university. They're also there to monitor MedSafe and CALM, and they're also funded by Bill Gates. Let's be clear about that. So there already is a conflict of interest. There already is a red flag for us, right? Then you have News Hub or News Grub, as I call them, because they got grubby hands. Why? Because MediaWorks was sold on to Disney, who merged with Warner, who's owned by AT&T, who's owned by Vanguard, right? Now Vanguard also own BlackRock. So what we don't know is who are the actual owners and the individual owners of Vanguard, and you know, well, we just know they're the elite, eh? They're the elite, and also so the two people that we have to absolutely be concerned about, and you know, they're starting trials, war crimes against humanity to do with the Russian war and the Ukraine war. Well, what, you know, isn't this a war crime against humanity, what Bill Gates is trying to implement? Isn't this a war crime against humanity, what Klaus Schwab is trying to implement? So Bill Gates, the biggest funder of the WHO, Klaus Schwab leads the WEF. All the politicians and the bureaucrats come out of WEF, right? And they get themselves elected. All the unelected bureaucrats in the WHO come from where? Well, we didn't vote them in. We didn't vote them in. So it's good that we understand this, eh? And don't just take my word for it. Go out and do your own research. Go and look at Russell Brand's videos, right? Lives, or videos. And then you have a look at his sources, because he's got a whole research team behind him. You have a look at the sources of his research, and then you go into that research. And that's how you do it. You use other people's sources of research, and you go in and do your own research. And what they've done is they've taken away all the hard work for us. And I do random. I pick random things and I go in and do research on, and I go, oh yeah, that's tika and that's pono. And you just have to do that to make sure he's not pulling the wool over our eyes as well. You got to do your due diligence, whānau. You can't just listen to me. You got to go out and do your own research. That's critical. That's really important. And that's a healthy society, right? And so these two men are creating a global dominance against, they call them member states. We're not member states. We're going to be, it's going to be a master-servant relationship, not member states, because it'll be binding on those member states that all that power is shifted to them. Okay, time for a cup of tea. Thank you again, like I said, for tuning in. It's been awesome. Thank you all for your comments. It makes me feel like I'm not talking to myself. And thank you, Karen, Teresa, Ted, Marion, Sharon, Nikki, Coco. Thank you, Ted. Thank you all. Lois, Diane. Oh, sorry, Louise. I see Coco. Nikki, Karen, Teresa, JJ, Glennis, Donna. One of your middle names, Marie. A lot of the Donnas are Donna Marie. Just a random thought. Trish, Glennis, Brooke. Just going through the names. Okay. Ramadi. Awesome, Fano. Eunice, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's important for me to acknowledge you. Chris, sorry if I've repeated your names, but I'm just going through all the comments. And thank you for the comments. Because here's the thing, Fano. By commenting on my page and engaging with me, you help me, because it makes me, because all I can see is myself, right? And it helps me to know that I'm engaging with you. And not only that, we're being followed. And so if not many people engage, then they think, oh, well, she's not as much of an influencer as we think she is. So it's really important that we put those comments up there. And don't forget, whānau, I need awhi in the Tauranga Moana space, Tauranga city space. If you've got vulnerable whānau that want to listen to Sue, she wants to get to as many communities as possible. In our Māori communities, you can have a cup of tea at home with her or meet her in the cafe. So please get a hold of me, and I've already got a few meetings that we've organised for her, but we need more. We need to hit the ground running, whānau. This is critical. We're at a critical time in our lives, politically, socially, environmentally, culturally. And we got to do this. We got to do this. Kia pai tō rā. Have an awesome, awesome day. Love yous all. Ka kite anō. Kia ora rā.